Welcome back to Pop Culture Explosion. I'm Mike, and I'm here with Paul.
Here at Pop Culture Explosion, we play in the upside down space. We have the telekinesis, we have the telepathy, we have the X-Files meets the E.T., and then we wrap that all up in a bow and we bring it to you. Mike, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about Stranger Things 2, spoiler-filled discussion.
We are talking full tank of gas, spoiler-filled conversation. So, you know what, Mike? Let's just jump into this.
And you're going to see our thoughts on the first season in the link below. We've done that before. And hey, I first of all, I did enjoy the season. I thought it was great. Loved the 80s authenticity. As I said, I was a bit kind of their age, and as with Paul back then, so it's very relevant nostalgia. That being said, we're going to dig into the minutia here for a little bit, and we're going to give out some props and some constructive criticism.
Yes, we will not be butt-kissing the Buff Brothers or Netflix. We do have our thoughts on this show. Yes, we did love it. I know, Mike, you loved it. My daughters really enjoyed it. A lot of folks that I work with enjoyed it. But you know what? There's also some things that I think we need to challenge them with, because I'm like, really? What? You did that? Really? Okay, so Mike, let's just jump in.
We're jumping in. So, Paul, was there a different feel between the two series?
Yeah. I mean, the 80s, the music, the mullets, the technology, yes, that was very consistent. How it felt differently for me was in season 1, the kids were together almost the entire time. In season 2, we had Lucas and Mike doing their thing. We had Dustin and Steve doing their thing. Will was being Will, and 11 didn't show up until season 8 with the group. So I missed that cohesive bonding of the group of kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was what I was kind of a fan of in the first season. So this is. And it's going to be something different. This is sophomore season, and you're going to see some differences. And I think it worked on some levels story-wise, and other ways it was kind of like, huh? Like the whole Nancy and Jonathan thing going off. Looking for that.
I mean, yes, we did have the whole Nancy, Jonathan, Steve love triangle thing. I thought the most profound moment between Steve and Nancy was at that party when Nancy was drunk. And I'm the first to admit, alcohol is my truth serum, and obviously it's Nancy's too. And I think that moment was a huge revelation for Steve at that party.
All right.
So, Mike, going to characters, who was your favorite character and why?
I'll probably go with Hopper, and just because he's the man. He's taking charge. Everybody's kind of looking to him, and he's kind of in a way like the anti-hero. So he's that strong male lead type. And I just thought he was cool. The scene where he falls in the hole and he gets all sucked up in there. I was like, no. I thought he was going down, man.
And I saw an interview with him, and he really enjoyed the fact that he was not that campy sitcom dad, the goofy dad. Yes, he made mistakes, but he was a strong character. My favorite character was Steve. I mean, Steve was a total douchebag in episode 1, and we really didn't see the hero Steve until the very end.
You're talking about season 1?
Of season 1, yes, you are correct. We didn't see him being a hero until the very end of season 1. In season 2, he was just a good guy. I loved his relationship with Dustin, how he adopted that older brother persona, and his job was to protect the kids, and he just did a great job. And unfortunately now Steve has 2 seasons back to back where he got his ass kicked, and my heart just breaks for the dude. So yeah.
So when we got we got season 2 here. And we've got new characters that were added. So we're going to talk about, the value of that. you want to lead off with that? I know what you've got to say about this.
Well, you know what? I really liked seeing 8 at the very launch of season 2. What I really liked about her was she had her own unique abilities, and there's more of these kids. And when I first saw this, I was really hoping that this would just be a teaser for season 3. I was kind of surprised when they got an entire episode with her in this season.
Right. Well, and then also we have the Hargroves, Billy and Mad Max, of course. That was like the main addition, really.
And this is probably my biggest criticism of season 2. These 2 characters, in my humble opinion, did not advance the story. I mean, they created Bill strictly to be the human antagonist. When you have a government agency full of humans as an antagonist, and you have the Mind Flyer as an antagonist, I don't think we needed Bill in this. And all Mad Max did was create a love triangle between Dustin and Lucas, as well as Eleven and Mike. So I think those 2 were a waste. Mike, what do you think of those 2 characters?
Oh, okay, so with Billy I think was a very underutilized potential, really good antagonist. I mean, it's like they set him up. He's a badass. He's this and that. He's real tough and all this, but they don't go anywhere with it. Okay, and only relevance I found with having him in this series was when he showed up to fight Steve. The confrontation. I was like, okay, that validated him as a character to me. But I still think he was underutilized. And as far as Mad Max go, I think that she was a good addition. I thought, that kind of, she balanced out the group. She's was an outsider. And then we saw the development of her transitioning into one of the main players in the group. I just think that the initial transition was very clunky because first she was absolutely cold with them, and then all of a sudden wanted to be like right in there. So there was kind of something missing there with her.
And I will give this to Billy, okay? His father obviously was very abusive to him, but that still doesn't excuse his behavior, but it did add a good dimension to him.
Well, and I kind of thought Billy was inconsistent because he's real tough, but then he backs down from the father. I would have liked to have seen him stand up more. So.
You know what? Most bullies do back down to a bigger bully. Mike, what do you think of Dr. Owens? I mean, Paul Reiser. I mean, when I first saw Dr. Owens, I'm like, hey, that guy looks familiar, and it took me about 20 minutes to connect the two.
Agreed. I was like, I had to look it up to make sure because he's looking old over there.
But there was expressions I saw from Aliens that got me there.
Yeah, I agree. And I enjoyed the fact that he was in it. And, it was a little different spin on the evil government facility where this guy, he didn't seem like a bad guy.
No, he was a good guy.
Yeah,
and at the very
which surprised me.
At the very beginning, I'm just waiting for him to be that deceptive jerk, And halfway through the season, I'm like, he's a good guy. I like him.
Yeah, he's helping Hopper. He he warns the kids. He forged the birth certificate for Jane. At the end and all that. I'm like, okay, I'm not used to that, but that's cool to see.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that character.
Let's talk about Bob.
I loved Bob. I loved seeing our old pal from Lord of the Rings come in there.
I didn't like Bob until he realized it was a map. Once he realized it was a map, I'm like, bam, this guy will be a hero. And by the way, I'm watching the last 4 episodes with my daughters, and when Bob's being chased in the building by those demi-dogs, and he looks like he's gotten to the entrance, and he looks at Winona Ryder, and he smiles. I just said, he's dead. And he died. And Danielle yelled at me. So I like Bob, by the way. I didn't like him at the beginning, but he did grow into a superhero. And I love that picture of him, that drawing of him in a cape at the very end. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I loved and hated that he died. Because it was just, it's one of those emotional weights that's added when you kill off a character like that, and it just brings a lot of respect to the piece. That I would have loved to see him live, but it was logical in a writer's sense that they killed him off.
And how about Murray, the conspiracy theorist?
Again, I felt that was part of what was tacked on. That just leads me into the whole Barb thing and Nancy and Jonathan. I wasn't really a big fan of that subplot going on there. I think they could have utilized those couple characters a little better, but I think it was fan service.
We could have done without Murray. I think that was a good hour that could have been replaced by a better quality storyline.
Yeah.
So Mike, what did you love about season 2?
The tone. They kept with the tone. Obviously the 80s and authenticity. Just the whole that world that they created. And I enjoyed the creepy, upside down, and it's just a good entertaining story overall, and that tone, I think that's probably what I'm the biggest fan of, is the whole tone of it.
For me, it was the music. Loved the music, and I remember playing Dig Dug and Dragon's Lair. I mean, those are two video. I mean, Dragon's Lair, that was the bane of my existence as a kid. Playing that video game. It was brutal, it was tough, and it really just sucked the money right out of my pocket. And they made reference to that, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Again, love the Upside Down. Love the and again, I keep saying this, but I can't think of a better comparison. But I love the mixture of government, conspiracy, extra dimension, alien. It just went well.
Right. What disappointed you with season 2?
Episode 7.
Which is cause for a lot of conversation between us.
Okay, let's dive into 7. Okay, the value that episode 7 had for me was it developed 11. Okay, she really grew at that moment. I like the fact that she felt connected to 8, that she has a sister, and there's someone else out there that's special like her. The group of kids that were surrounding 8, they were comic book, two-dimensional, irrelevant characters. The fact that they'd hinted that Papa is still alive, I thought annoyed me, because if they bring him back, I'm not going to be happy with it. So I just thought episode 7 was kind of a waste for me.
Yeah, I mean, the value there is what you kind of covered over. We got Kali, the relationship there. She's the one that gave her insight to further use the powers, which is a huge development for the finale. And it does establish that there's others. Plants the seed that Dr. Brenner's alive. And they kind of tie in with Mama and stuff like that. So, there's relevant bullet points, but for an hour show or whatever, 50 minutes, it's like we could have probably put those into some flashbacks or something. And because I think that the biggest problem with episode 7 was it detracts from the overall tone. It's like you have the very consistent, then this weird, she's going to Chicago and she's, dressing like a punk now and all, and she's with this gang. And I was like, what? When they come walking around the corner together, I'm like, they kind of lost me for a while.
Right. My other disappointment was, again, Mad Max and Billy. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I did not feel that those two characters advanced the story or the plot for this entire season at all. If those two characters were not in this season, the only difference would be is Steve would not have gotten his ass kicked. That's it.
Well, and since we're ribbing on disappointment in characters, I'll have to say I'm not a fan of Dustin, and I thought he got way too much. He got way too much screen time when we could have been developing Mike, or some. I mean, Mike got the shaft on this one, I think, and they gave this Dingleberry all this screen time, and he's harboring this creature. I mean, and lying to his friends. I mean. dude, not a fan of Dustin.
And see, that's where you and I disagree. I really like Dustin. I mean, the final scene during the snowball dance, and he's sporting his epic mullet. You know, he's approaching these girls, and they're just completely blowing him off. And I'm like, ladies, he saved the earth, and you're blowing him off. And when none of the girls would dance with him, it broke my heart. And then when Nancy came up to him, and she asked him to dance, and she starts talking. Both Danielle and Christine, they're like, oh my God, he's so adorable, he's so cute. And I don't know, he made a mistake with the demagogue, Doug. I will admit that. But I think Dustin is the core member of the group. He is he is the foundation of that group.
Well, and I wouldn't dispute that. I'm just not a huge fan of him.
Yeah, and I am. So, okay. Okay, so the very final scene, we have the dance going on, and we're outside. We see the middle school. It starts flipping upside down, and now we're in the upside down, and we see the mind flayer. What do you think about that, Mike?
I think season 3 is coming, and and they've said it's going to be 4 or 5 seasons, depending on how it goes. But really, I was like, okay, we saw Upside Down in season 1, season 2. We get more of that. How much more can we do with that? It will be interesting to see how they're going to make it good. It's almost like they're beating the same dead horse with a stick kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, how much more can we do with it?
Well, and my thoughts were different. I mean, at the very end of the conflict, all Elle did was she just closed the portal. She didn't destroy the Upside Down. She didn't destroy the Mind Flayer. All she did was close the door. So my thought was, at first was, oh my goodness, the kids are all in the high school. All the kids are in the Upside Down now. And I'm like, no, it's just the Upside Down. It still exists. But there are other portals that we saw throughout the season. There was a portal in the middle school. There was a portal in the forest. There was a portal that Hopper created in the hole. So I don't know if she fully closed all the portals.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so much. I think that they did a lot of building in season 2 to go off of. A lot of character building, and so we got a lot to work with in the future seasons.
Mm-hmm. So Mike, what are your final thoughts on Stranger Things 2?
Final thoughts is, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it delivered. I enjoyed the characters and everything, some more than others. But I think that there was, the writing was a little messy in places. It's hard to be perfect, and you got people like us really looking at every frame going, oh, why did they do that? Rather than just like most people just watching it and enjoying it. So I would give it a solid. I would give it a solid 8.
And my final thoughts are, I enjoyed this. I thought season 1 was vastly superior over season 2, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy season 2. I really loved it. I binge watched it in 2 days. I watched it with my daughters. They enjoyed it, but I didn't experience any disappointing moments in season 1, where I did experience disappointing moments in season 2. So hopefully the Duff brothers will hear that feedback. So I will. You know what? I thought about this all day. I was going to give it a 9, but I'm going to give it a solid 8 as well.
All right.
So, with that being said, guys, what did you think of Stranger Things 2? Let's continue the conversation down below. Comment your thoughts, your opinions. And if you like this video, smash that like button. If you dislike this video, you know what? It is what it is. Hit the dislike button. And hey, subscribe to this channel. If you do any of those things, you will not be trapped in the Upside Down. So, Mike, with that being said,
Peace out.